I didn't even know Colorado had a basketball team, Kevin. We're going to preview that and more all in 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Welcome in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Damon Fairall, and I'm with my boy, Kevin Thomas, as always, pressing buttons, bringing the hard-hitting analysis that we always come to love on this show, Kevin. It's a little bit of a slow burn. I mean, sometimes Kevin's throwing all the things, the stats at you from every direction. You're like, whoa, it's a little overwhelming. I think you're endearing yourself to the community a little bit here, Kevin.
I appreciate that, Damon. You know, that's the one goal is to just throw information.
It was a slow cook. It was a slow cook, man. Tough start. I'm just kidding. Everybody loves Kevin. Kevin's the nicest dude in the world. I'm not, apparently. I wear a D-backs hat on this podcast.
Nasty
Kevin.
bad guy.
That's not okay.
No, that's
everyone knows that's
unacceptable.
not okay.
You should support the other MLB team in Arizona. Oh wait, Damon, there isn't another MLB team in Arizona.
Yeah, how dare I support my in-state MLB franchise? That's disgusting. I get it.
Maybe people would rather you just become a Dodger fan, Damon.
I'll work on being a better person. Honestly, like when you told me about that, just full disclosure here, Kevin told me someone tweeted at him that me wearing a D-backs podcast hat on the pod was a bad look. Given that he's in Tucson, I kind of my first reaction was probably is a Dodgers fan, but we'll do a little bit more research into that going forward. And I don't want to accuse anybody of being a bad person when they're not, you know. But we got some basketball to talk today, Kevin.
I guess we do.
We do, and we have some Colorado basketball to talk. Had a decent little non-conference for Colorado. They were
9-2.
9-2. I think people looked at them and thought to themselves, you know, this team could be all right. They're frisky.
I mean, I think they start the season and they play Eastern Washington, Northern Colorado, Cal State Fullerton, and Harvard, and you're like, wow, they're really making it out the mud, Damon.
But they beat UConn.
But yeah, I'm about to say, then they beat UConn, and I think like at that point, I think people, including myself, didn't really know what to do with this Colorado team from like an analytical perspective, because it's like you look at this team on paper and you're like, well, they're not very good, respectfully. And then they go beat a team like UConn, and it's like, well, how much do I have to shift my perspective now that they've gone and beat UConn and went 9-2 in non-con? Like maybe they're good, right? Maybe they're not bad. Maybe they're decent. And then we get into Big 12 play, Damon. And can you let me know what Colorado's record is in the Big 12 conference?
Yes, it is a eye-opening 0-7 with losses to Iowa State, ASU, UCF, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, and BYU. So not even, a lot of the better teams in the conference, I'd say, Kevin. You got a loss to ASU, a loss to UCF, a loss to Oklahoma State on that schedule there. Cincinnati has struggled to start this season. West Virginia doesn't have Tucker DeVries in that game. Like, Colorado has not had a great start to conference play, to say the least. And but yeah, I mean, it does, like, they caught a UConn team off guard, right? And yes. UConn is probably in a similar spot to Arizona, I'd say, in terms of caliber. I mean, they're sitting on the back end of the top 25, I believe. It's kind of where I think a lot of us believe Arizona probably should be if they just won a couple more of those close games in non-conference. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly seeing that. Does it raise the question, is this a trap game, Kevin?
You and I were kind of going back and forth a little bit about this morning. I think, I don't want to speak for you, but my interpretation of our conversation was that you don't believe that this is a true trap game for Arizona. I believe that Arizona will win this game convincingly. It will not be difficult, is my official prediction. But what I'm saying is, heading into this game, this, I think, is by definition a trap game, Damon. This is a team that Arizona always beats, and then they beat up on them. It's not just that they get by or this. I was doing some more math. I never thought after I graduated I'd be doing more math than I probably did when I was in college. But Damon, over the last 6 matchups, Arizona's 5-1 with an average margin of victory of 19.6. Like, this is not a rivalry. This is not a close matchup. This is just 2 teams that were in the same conference that have now moved to another conference together. And yeah, I mean, the trap game portion aspect of it is boosted by everything I just said. Arizona should dominate Colorado, and Arizona's next game, Damon, on Monday, probably the biggest game of their season so far, from a conference standpoint at least, facing Iowa State. Yep. And I think everyone that I can speak for, including fans, you and I, Saul and Corey, or actually not Corey if you watched McHale Madness last night, but everyone's just looking forward to this Iowa State game, right? Everyone's looking forward to Tamin Lipsey versus Jaden Bradley and Keshon Gilbert versus Caleb Love and all these great matchups. But Colorado is still, you got to still play Colorado. You still got to beat Colorado. So I think Arizona will have no problem beating Colorado. My point is, though, they cannot let themselves get trapped in the first 5 minutes of this game and let Colorado even think they have a chance at beating them like they did against UConn.
I think that's fair. And, I think maybe the fan perspective on that is a little bit different than, the team's personal perspective. I'm sure Tommy has the guys ready to go and keeping the main thing, keeping the focus on the game at hand rather than thinking about, Tuesday's game or is it on Tuesday? I think it is. On Monday's game against Iowa State. So, yeah, I think that us as fans, though, we're looking ahead, right? Yeah. Because we don't really respect Colorado to a level that, we think that they're a threat necessarily to this Arizona team. You talk about, how bad they've been this season. Last season, they were pretty good. It's kind of ebbs and flows, I feel like, with Colorado basketball. They had some guys on last year's roster that, they don't really see all that often on a Colorado basketball team. Like, it was kind of a culmination of a lot of better players. They had KJ Simpson, who is Arizona fans know well, was committed to Sean Miller right before he got fired, and was a really good college basketball player. What honestly was Arizona caliber. Like, we would have taken him in a heartbeat. Good player. Julian Hammond, who's their leading scorer this year in that starting lineup. Cody Williams, who was one of the highest recruits in the entire country going into that season, 5-star recruit. Everybody, do you remember when people were giving Dion credit for that? Were you seeing any of that when that happened, Kevin?
I don't remember that, but I'm sure it did happen, Damon.
Yeah,
I think
it was
if Colorado had a rainbow
with Cody Williams at the visit, like watching the basketball game, and like they're like dapping each other up, and everyone's like, "God, Dion's influence, man." And then their basketball team sucks, and you'll never see a Sanders at a Colorado basketball game ever again.
Do you think, Damon, that Tad Boyle would maybe let Travis Hunter have some run out there if he was around still? Do you think that they would let Travis Hunter play out there? I mean, he has the ups. We all saw the highlights on social media. He has the ups.
I think if Dion told the AD, "I want Travis Hunter to get some run," the AD would let Travis Hunter get some run. They also had Tristan Da Silva, who's on the Orlando Magic now and was a really good college basketball player as well. So, it was kind of a dream kind of culmination of players for Colorado. And unfortunately, they didn't go very far in the tournament. They kind of had a disappointing season in that regard. But, all those guys are gone now except for Julian Hammond. Yeah. And this team is just frankly not very good because of it.
And not only is Julian Hammond the only holdover from, really last year. And not only that, he's the only player to start every game this year, Damon. Wow. Tad Boyle's really been messing with some lineups, trying to find out what works. I mean, nothing's working, so you can't go with what you got because it's not working. But Julian Hammond's been the only consistent starter this year for Colorado. But I thought that was interesting because when I was doing my research, I saw an article written here in Arizona with Sam Matevier, who is a Colorado beat writer who is doing some preview stuff with, I think, Brian Peterson, actually. But he said that Boyle tried to replace Hammond as the primary ball handler in the transfer portal and was just unsuccessful. And so here we are with Hammond as the primary ball handler for Colorado, which is something that all indications point to no one wanted. So it's an unfortunate situation, it seems like, if you're a Buffs fan, to come into this year after most wins in school history last year. Damon, you alluded to it, 26.
Yeah.
And Yeah, they're not going to get the 26 wins this year. Let me spoiler alert, they're not going to break that record
Hot take.
this season. And yeah, Damon, it's been a tough go for the Buffaloes, and they just don't seem to have a lot of I don't know how to be too respectful here, but they just don't seem to have a lot of talent on this roster.
Yeah, they don't have the juice. Going back to that UConn game that we mentioned beforehand, you have in here that, I mean, they shot 56.2% from 3 against UConn. There you have it. I mean,
yeah, that's it.
Completely unsustainable number, shot out of their minds. But we've seen this with Arizona, right? They're susceptible to games like that where they just let a team just get confident and then just start to hit all their shots. So, I guess that in that regard, you can't just scoff over it and say, hey, that's not going to happen again. Arizona is a team that, we've seen give up 3-pointers at a high volume rate to teams and players that maybe they necessarily shouldn't. So, yeah, I mean, something to monitor for sure is that 3-point shooting. I think if you nullify Colorado's 3-point ability, I don't see a world in which they can beat a team that's such a higher caliber than they are.
Yeah, it's going to take it's going to take a minor miracle probably for Colorado to walk into McHale and earn a victory tomorrow, Damon. But I think if you want to talk about volume 3-point shooting and players that if one goes in, maybe they get going. Colorado's possible best player is a player Andrei Yakimovsky, former Washington State Cougar, transfer to Colorado this season. And Damon, for being questionably one of their best players, maybe the best player on the team, can I give you something that just really grinds my gears?
Yeah.
Career field goal percent for an Andrei Yakimovsky, 6'8", senior, 36.3%. Not from the 3, from the field for his career. And now let me tell you something else, Damon. He's on pace right now. He's got 39.1% from the field, brother. Career high. Less than 4 out of 10 career high.
Maybe this level is just not for you, brother.
It's like I couldn't even imagine being a Colorado Buffs basketball fan. Do they exist?
Northern Colorado would be a good fit.
Maybe Washington State. Go back.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, clearly the Big 12 is not where we should be playing.
I mean, his next highest career field goal percent was 38.6 in 2021, 2022. I mean, this is just not a guy that can go get buckets. He's not exactly a rebounder either. Averages 4.5 rebounds a game for his career. This year, he's averaging 4.4 rebounds a game. He did put up 10 rebounds when they played against UConn, though, Damon, which, got to give him credit for that. But unfortunately, he has not gotten more than 6 rebounds since that late November contest against UConn. And the only time he got 6 was against West Virginia. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much to write home to mom and dad about when you're talking about Colorado basketball, Damon. And when we are talking about it, this is, like I said, he misses a lot of shots. He takes a lot of shots. He's averaging... he's averaging 4.8, so we're going to round up to 5 3-pointers per game this season, Damon. For a player who is shooting 33% from the 3, that's, I don't know. And then you got Julian Hammond, who the coach didn't even want handling the ball last offseason, but he's stuck with him now. And so I feel like this is a situation where if Arizona does not come out here and whoop on Colorado from pillar to post, from tip to the ending buzzer, I'm not going to get overreactive about it, but it will be one of those things where why didn't they just play with fire? This team's not good. And so, I'm excited because it's Arizona's opportunity to, in wrestling, Damon, there's a send home show where before a big pay-per-view or a big premium live event, you'll have a huge event right before to send everyone home happy and excited for what's to come.
Yeah.
This is the send home game for Arizona fans. This is the game where Arizona's got to come out, whoop on Colorado. You know what I'm saying? Belt to ass for the entire time. It has to be. And if it's not, that's a disappointing thing. But this is Arizona's opportunity to put belts to ass and just dominate for an entire game and show Arizona fans that, hey, we're ready for the second half of this season. We're primed for the second half of this season. And Henri Veesaar just dropped a 15-point double-double on Yakimovsky's head top. That's what I want to hear on the postgame.
Belt to ass, I love that. Did you just come up with that right now?
Yeah, I think we're just inventing new sayings left and right.
I don't know if I've ever heard that before, especially in a podcast beat coverage of a college team format. So I think we're gonna take that. I was almost gonna say steal, but who are we stealing from?
Tucson,
we came up with it right
Texas
now.
to
So
Tucson, belts to ass. We're just two creatives doing it all by ourselves.
I don't know how we come up with this stuff, but Arizona, as we talked about, Kevin, if Arizona plays this game and they don't, tip to ending buzzer, as you said, just kind of control the game, that will be what, me and you will come into the post-game show with concerns.
Yeah.
Where I have confidence is that Tommy Lloyd teams, at least, I don't have research to back this up, but I really feel like that they dominate teams that they should. Like when they play the Canisiuses of the world, the Old Dominions of the world,
Central Michigan,
the
sorry,
Central
Noah.
Michigans of the world, like they win by 30 points, and I think that Tommy's system is conducive to really just overpowering inferior teams and inferior opponents. So that's where I do have confidence that this Arizona team will not overlook this game, that they'll put it on Colorado early, and that it'll just you just sustain that lead for the rest of the game, kind of coast it out. Yeah,
I mean, I think, we're going to talk a little bit more in the next segment about, really breaking down Colorado is from a stat standpoint and matchups and things like that. But we're going to talk more about it. But this is a game that Caleb Love, I expect, 22, 25? I expect points.
We're getting,
and if he doesn't drop a lot
20.
of points, it's probably because Arizona whooped on him so bad that Liam Lloyd is playing the last 5. And so I think, this has to be a game where, like you said, Arizona flexes its muscle and says, we're a Tommy Lloyd team. We don't play it close against bad teams. I think this is one of those games, Damon, and Caleb Love's got to do it for us.
You see Erica in the chat saying CU isn't a tier 1 team, so Caleb Love will show out.
Yeah, I was thinking that last night when I was watching McHale Madness. If you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. There was some good.
We're getting 20 from Caleb Love.
Conversation. Yeah, you have to get 20 from Caleb Love. If Caleb Love don't drop 20, like I said, it better be because Arizona was up like 50 or something, and he just didn't get in.
Just didn't play the second half. Yeah.
But all hope is lost if Caleb Love doesn't drop like 50, at least 15 plus, man.
Yep.
At least.
Well, Kevin, like you said, we're going to dive deeper into Colorado basketball and kind of what their strengths and weaknesses are and how they are as a team. And we're going to do that right after this break, and we talk about some of these fine sponsors. Well, Kevin, Carol Royce's team, if you want to buy a home, that's going to be the place to do it in the Valley because she's the Valley's fan favorite, and her team have helped sell over 12,000 homes across the entire Valley. 12,000 is not a small number there. Choosing the right agent is going to be one of the biggest decisions of your entire life. We all know it. It's going to be maybe the biggest purchase you ever make, and you want to find the right agent and the right team when you do so. Carol Royce is going to be that team because guess what? She's gonna bring just a more personal approach to it than you're used to maybe seeing from a big scale real estate team. Like this is family. Their goal is to get you into a place that you want to spend the rest of your life in potentially. And if you don't, Carol and her team are going to buy back your house for you. That's the ultimate protection plan. Doesn't get any better than that. Hey, I don't like my house. It's actually not going the way I thought it would go. Oh, cool. Okay. Well, here's a cash offer. We'll take it back and then we'll help you find a new one. That's what Carol Royce and her team are doing. That's what makes them the best in the business. If you're considering buying a home in 2025, the name to trust is Carol Royce, your home sold guaranteed realty. Move up to one of our listings and we'll buy your home for cash. Have questions, call today or visit Carol Royce online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com.
Damon, do you enjoy the Suns dance crew? Do you enjoy the gorilla at the Suns games?
How could you
Damon?
not?
Would you like to maybe eat pizza and hang out with these perfect folk? And
well, it depends. What kind of pizza, Kevin?
Well, only the best pizza from our friends at Spinato's. We got okay. All right. Like the big pizza pie. That's Spinato's. Anyway, thank you, Max, and thank you, Spinato's, for this wonderful pizza. And if you want to have pizza and be at the place to be during Suns watch parties, it is Spinato's. And if you have a decent jump shot, you got to enter Spinato's pizza competition. They have it's pretty much playing horse, but it's Spinato's. They don't spell horse because why would they do that? They spell pizza. And you can win free pizza for a year and tickets to Suns game on April 9th. And what's better than free tickets and free pizza, Damon, is, he's get it. Clean him up. Clean the boy up right there. Mark your calendar, Suns fan. The excitement
Man,
starts
that's
at Spinato's. Get all the info and watch parties and pizza basketball contests at Spinato'sPizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. Damon, how was that bite you just had?
Phenomenal. Have you ever had a bad bite of Spinato's pizza? Because I haven't.
Oh, there's some Zot in my box.
Wow.
Got some.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're just hooking us up. Yeah, we might be in the middle of a show,
Yeah,
but
but this is
some
added
things are a little bit
value.
more important. It is lunchtime. It's
Wow.
12:20. It's good stuff, Kevin. It's good stuff. Not good stuff. Colorado basketball.
Nasty bad stuff.
No, really nasty, bad stuff. Let's go ahead and check out their team preview, Kevin, while you munch on that slice.
Can I get a napkin?
I'll
Mom,
give the
napkin.
people some stats here. According to our friends over at KenPom, Colorado 9-9, as we mentioned, 9-2 in non-conference, 0-7 in conference play. Their offensive rating good for 141st in the country. Their defensive rating 78th. So typical of a Big 12 team, they're slightly better at defense than they are at offense. That seems to be the theme. Their tempo, they are very middle of the pack at 152nd in the country, and their strength of schedule is 47th. Overall, Kevin, Colorado is the 98th team in KenPom, so they're just cracking that top 100 there.
Woo!
Arizona can just nail down another top 100 KenPom win. Massive.
Man, Damon, you pretty much broke it all down right there. And we talked about it in the first segment. Colorado, bad basketball team. Arizona, good basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
That is the foundation of this basketball matchup, Damon. But I have some fun history lessons today for you, Damon. You taught me history the other day on our post game. I'm going to teach you some history today on our live show.
Hit me.
So the last time the Colorado defeated Arizona basketball in McHale Center, not anywhere else, in the McHale Center itself, was December 20th, 1965, Damon, during the Vietnam War. Colorado has not won in McHale since Nam.
Literally since Nam.
Bro, okay. This is before the internet, cell phones, Woodstock. This is when Lyndon B. Johnson was president. 9 years before Tommy Lloyd was even born. Our beloved Tommy Lloyd was not even thought yet. Almost a decade before Tommy Lloyd's birth. And the first video game console was not even made yet, Damon. People couldn't even hop on the game yet. This is Colorado basketball. You gotta get it together.
This is why the people love you, Kevin. Because, I mean, where else can you get hard-hitting analysis like that? Literally nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's giving you... he said a history lesson. He was damn right.
Yeah.
That was a history lesson before all that other stuff was invented.
Since Nam, man.
Yeah, since Nam. Some other interesting notes on Colorado here. They're 13th in the country in average height, Kevin.
Wow.
Yeah. They're
that actually is pretty cool.
They're a very tall team.
Yeah.
We'll see if that length bothers Arizona at all. I don't expect it too much because I think that the added length of a guy like Carter Bryant and Henri Veesaar going at them and also just being better basketball players will counteract that. So, yeah, I mean, Henry, Toby Awaka going up against a tall team should be interesting. Should be interesting to see those matchups.
Damon, sorry to cut you off there. Do you believe that this is a Henri Veesaar game? Like he had a poor performance last game. And I only bring this up because on McHale Madness last night, Saul and Corey were going back and forth about if they think that Trey Townsend or Henri Veesaar will have a better game. And I've never. I guess I'll go positive. I think it's going to be Henri Veesaar that has a better game when compared to Trey Townsend. But I think which one? I'll ask you it like this: which one of our front court members, which one of Arizona's front court members, will be the X factor for Arizona in this basketball game?
I think Henri Veesaar, from what he does on a defensive level, elevates him past what not Toby Awaka, but what Trey Townsend can do, even in a good game. Because Trey Townsend, even when he's going 7 of 8 from the field like he did against Oklahoma State, he's still a 6'6" power forward that doesn't rebound at a high level, right? So while he might score, he's not helping you in the regards of rebounding and defense necessarily.
Yeah.
I think Henry will bring that no matter what. The scoring is maybe more in question. So I think if I had to bet, I'd say it's more of a Henri Veesaar game. But here's where I'll go off that, Kevin. I think for Arizona's ceiling to be reached, every game kind of has to be a Henri Veesaar game because I think he's the X factor for this team for the entire season.
Love that.
I don't like. I think Caleb. You could talk about Caleb Love and his ability / inability to score versus, better teams and that being the X factor. I think that's absolutely another massive factor in how the season will play out. But I also think I've seen enough of Caleb Love, and he's enough of an experienced player that eventually I think he'll break out of it, even though it's been a pretty long drought in the start of this season here. Go ahead.
Can I cut you off real quick to ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to stop saying that he'll because with Caleb Love, it's not is he going to find his stride again? I almost think we should stop asking that of him. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying, is it unfair of us to assume that Caleb Love is about to give us, 2.5 months of consistent, elite, high-scoring basketball when he's not done that at all this year? Like, I guess my question to you is, should we stop banking on Caleb Love to get it back, or should it just be case by case, game by game? Because we know he's going to ball out against Colorado, but then there's nothing that tells you he should ball out against Iowa State.
Other than the fact that the law of averages, though, like I think that would be what would tell you that he's bound to have a good game versus a good opponent. Like I guess he's not going to go the whole season without.
I agree, but that's kind of my point though. Is that is it's unfair to expect him to find his stride where he's just going to ball out against a bunch of good teams at the end of the year? Like I think it's almost more realistic to say which couple games is he going to matchup wise excel in. Like, is it going to be one here against Kansas, one there against Iowa State, one here against who else might he be go well against? Maybe BYU's in the top 40, so maybe BYU. But I think I don't have a lot of confidence in Caleb Love to have a sustained stretch from the Arizona State game, pretty much from Arizona State to Arizona State, from February 1st to March 4th, my birthday. I don't think we're gonna see consistency from Caleb Love. I think it's unfair to ask him for consistency at this point.
I feel you, and I understand your sentiment. Here's where I'll disagree with you, and I believe your mom put it in the chat here. He is the highest paid player on this team. He is making, I would assume, 7 figures in NIL money. It's not as if it's just a regular college student like it used to be back in the day.
That's true.
He's a borderline professional. He came back because he probably would make more money in college basketball than he would in the NBA or going overseas somewhere. And I think you brought him back to be the leader of this team. So when Jaden Bradley has had to take those reins, I would say that it would be unfair of us if Jaden Bradley was playing well or playing poorly to say well, he hasn't stepped up enough because he wasn't supposed to be the guy. But Caleb Love was always supposed to be the guy. And if he's not going to give you that, I think he deserves the criticism for it. And also, I'm going to continue to say that if this team is going to go where they need to go, they need Caleb Love to play like he did last season, like he did the season before that. He's always been an inconsistent player, but I think you need him to find some of that consistency down the stretch here if you want to go to where you want to go in college basketball.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I know that he's literally the same player, but it harkens back to our conversation we had, I think on our last live show possibly, about, what's happening with Caleb Love in between the good teams and the bad teams. What's the difference, right? I know he's the same player, but it's becoming more and more difficult to believe that we're going to get that player of a couple years ago or last year even out of Caleb Love, outside of, and this is kind of I guess what I was trying to verbalize earlier, outside of a couple games here and there, right? I think it's unfair, not unfair, it is fair based on the NIL. I think unfair is the wrong word, but I think it's unrealistic to expect that he will find stride for consistent games in a row. I think it's going to be, all right, he balled out against Colorado. Maybe he has a down game against Iowa State, but he balled out against Baylor. Is he back? And then he goes, I think it's going to be this up and down the rest of the season.
Well, that's kind of who he is.
True.
In a way.
True. But I still think he was able to find consistency for 2-month periods at a time.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Caleb Love, I've watched enough Caleb Love basketball for me to kind of place those expectations on him. I do understand what you're saying. At what point do you just say hey man, we can't assume that
Yeah.
we're getting that anymore. And I don't
Yes.
know that I am necessarily assuming, but I definitely am hoping, wishing, and praying that it comes back because, like I said, like you're gonna need him to hit tough shots in March. That's what carries teams through the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Year in, year out, it's guard play, right? Like everybody always talks about that. Experienced guards. Arizona has 2 very experienced guards. And I know what I'm getting out of Jaden Bradley on a nightly basis. I don't know what I'm getting out of Caleb Love. Need to round that out a little bit more. Even if he's shooting in the 30%, like give me good shots. Give me tracking back on defense and not allowing Jeremy Roach to, cherry pick down after you miss a 3-pointer, like that kind of stuff. But going back to where we were talking about, Kevin.
Yeah, sorry.
Henry, no, all good. That was good discussion. Henri Veesaar, I think, is the overall X factor for this team because I think that the ceiling on a player like that with his athleticism, his frame, his ability to shot block, his ability to rebound and be physical, like to me, that is what separates him from our other front court players. And that's what I go into the remainder of this season thinking to myself, if you got to find consistency out of Henri Veesaar if this team is going to, make a deep tournament run.
Yeah, and I'm looking over here at my laptop here, Damon, to see because I'm thinking of just how right you are, right? Because if Henri Veesaar can be the player that we all think as fans he could be, maybe not yet, but by time tournament time comes around and all that, I think the ceiling of this team is drastically altered by that, right? To illustrate your point, UConn's gone back to back, right, Damon?
Yep.
And what did they go back to back off of the strength of? It was the relationship between the guards and their bigs, right? UConn had great bigs, great front court play.
They have had really good bigs.
Obviously, their guards were really good too, but their guards were, I think, in terms of the game plan, when you're watching the game, the guards felt secondary to the bigs, right? And I think that you're not going to win a national title in this current, whatever meta, whatever you want to call it, like this current iteration of NCAA basketball, unless you have a good big. Like you gotta run a good big. And you have to be able to rebound and be physical and out tough these teams when the skills fall off because the shots are going to go. The shots are going to come and go, right? Yeah. They're going to wax and wane. And so I feel like the bigs are the one consistent thing that Arizona is going to have to nail down because we know, like you said, that Caleb Love's going to be up and down. We know that Jaden Bradley's going to be consistent. We know that KJ Lewis is going to contribute consistently, but his offensive output might be up and down, right? And so it does. I think you're right. It does come down to Henri Veesaar and Arizona's ceiling will be dictated by the front court development this year. I think you're right on that.
I'm with you there. The only like reason that we even I think talk about Caleb in this circumstance is because he is the type of player that can just like kind of take over a game all by himself, right? Like if
for better or worse, yeah,
it's possible where yes, definitely, it's possible where there's a scenario where Jaden Bradley is consistent as we've come to know, and then. Other guys are struggling. You have a bad Trey Townsend game. Maybe Carter Bryant looks like a freshman. I'm thinking like in March, right? And Caleb Love just says, I'm going to put the team on my back and put up 30. And that could just win. That could win you a massive game, him doing something like that. Just need him to find that form against a good team and a quality defense because we've yet to see that thus far this season.
Need to see it.
But I do think, Henri Veesaar, absolutely a big factor in how this season will play out. And I just think the upside of a Henri Veesaar is an NBA player.
Yeah.
You look at the other front court players on this team, Carter Bryant aside, I mean, he's a freshman. Obviously, he's an NBA player. But, talking about Toby Awaka and Trey Townsend, those guys are not going to play in the league.
Yeah.
So that's where I think, Henri Veesaar, the ceiling there is just so much higher. And it could really kind of put you over the top. I like you're pointing out UConn. I know I said that guard play is what wins you games in March, and I think that's typically true. But UConn has kind of pushed up against that grain a little bit the last couple years with Sinogo and with Klingon. Like those are guys that were probably their best player, if not their or their second best player down those stretches. So it'll be interesting to watch play out. But Henri Veesaar, big talking point here. Arizona has now won 6 games in a row versus Colorado, Kevin.
Yep.
Getting back to that, has here from. Yeah, I mean, I think this is just a game it absolutely cannot lose. It would be borderline catastrophic if you did.
Yeah, it would definitely be like the SpongeBob scene where he's in his own head and he's trying to put files away and everything's on fire and he's just running back and forth. That would be me and Damon.
Meme.
That'd be verbal meme. Me and Damon on the post game would look a lot like that. I think if Arizona loses to Colorado, which what is there? I mean, I know Ken Palm gives it like a 18% chance, but what is there literally
8%,
like
I believe.
8% chance. It might be like a 3-1% chance. Damon, that
and
Colorado
ESPN is given 5.9.
Yeah, it's just there. Ultimately, we can talk all we want about, Arizona can't let them, trap them. They, Arizona should dominate, whatever. But this is just simply a game where Arizona is too talented to lose this basketball game, Damon. This is a game where the cream rises to the top, and Colorado is either going to challenge Arizona, and Arizona is going to overcome those challenges, or Arizona is just going to wipe the floor with them for 40 minutes, and that's just what it's going to be. And I think there's a much higher chance that Arizona wipes the floor with them, and we're talking about like a 25-point Arizona victory tomorrow, hopefully afternoon. And Damon.
It being in McHale, I think, should instill a lot of confidence in people.
Yes.
Colorado, I think, they get up for certain games. They have a good fan base for their football program in particular, but their basketball program, I mean, I think that it can be a really, really strong environment if it's a big game, if they're playing Colorado State in a rivalry game, or ranked Arizona comes to town or whatever. But it being in McHale, with our crowd behind the Wildcats, like I just think that I don't see a world in which this is a loss. I just really don't. Like I would be absolutely shocked if this was a loss. But yeah, that's kind of what we got on Colorado there. It would have been nice to get, Colorado beat reporter or something on the show, but I don't think anyone covers Colorado basketball, unfortunately. So I guess we'll just kind of, move on from that. Kevin, we do have some sponsors to talk about, so why don't we take a break here?
Yes, we do. And you know what, Damon? You must be out of your mind. Get out of your mind if you have not taken a trip over to True Leaf with our friends at Colt Cannabis. And Damon, if you want the most premium flower in all the valley as he munches on his beloved Spinato Za, if you want the best Za in the valley, make sure to stop over at True Leaf and shop with our friends at Colt Cannabis. Colt Cannabis always dropping fire, especially here at the PHNX offices. And they drop fire in True Leaves as well. I went to True Leaf right up here downtown location the other week and asked him, hey, y'all got Colt Cannabis, right? And he was like, oh yeah, definitely got Colt Cannabis. He was like, what you want, the small bag, or you want like an eighth? I was like, give me the small bag for sure. Got that magic marker, and it's a beautiful strain, Damon. And if you want some fire flower, head over to trueleaf.com and find your shop nearest you and let them know that PHNX sent you to get you some exclusive flower.
Another place we're going to send you, Kevin, is over at Sanderson Ford, our favorite dealership in the valley and the most awarded Ford dealership in the state of Arizona. Also, the biggest Ford dealership in the country. Not just Arizona, but the country. Sanderson Ford out there in Glendale in the West Valley. It's a whole family approach to buying a vehicle. We talked about it with our friends over at Carol Royce. Now we're talking about it with our friends over at Sanderson Ford. It's a massive purchase, right? You want people that are going to be personal with you. They're going to treat you right. Our friends at Sanderson Ford do that. We went out there. We hung out with them. They're unbelievable. We ate at the Starliner Diner. Make sure you guys check that out. If you buy a vehicle, they're going to buy you lunch. I'm telling you that right now. That's a Damon guarantee. I always say that. And a warm cup of coffee, huh? Nice hot cup of coffee. They'll give you one of those too. Sanderson Ford, all the best vehicles you can choose from. Mustang, Bronco, F-150, Ranger, Fiesta, Focus. Badlands. The list goes on and on. Make sure you guys hop in a new Ford. They got all the variety. Get in the car of your dreams over at Sanderson Ford. For the best deals in 2025, choose Sanderson for a no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense experience, and get more for your trade with easy on-the-spot financing. Driving to the new year in a new Sanderson Ford from Arizona's most awarded Ford dealership, Sanderson Ford. Well, Kevin.
Well, Damon.
We have pretty much talked all we can about Colorado basketball. Because
way more than we probably should have.
Probably the most anyone has ever talked about Colorado basketball this season, I would argue.
Maybe ever. Maybe a compilation of all time ever.
Yeah.
That was like 40 minutes on Colorado basketball.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And so I think we're all spent on that, right? Arizona will play tomorrow. Kevin and I, obviously, will have you locked and loaded with a post-game show. We'll be live about 15 after the game ends. So make sure you guys tap in there. We'll be here in the studio watching ball like we do every Saturday. It's become a Saturday tradition, Kevin.
Yeah.
Damon and Kevin watch ball. But yeah, shout out everybody in the chat. Erica talking about the doubleheader, of course, on Saturday. Kobe, thank you for joining, sir. We always appreciate your inputs. June Knights 23, as a Suns fan, we welcome you, sir. Here's your Jimmy Butler talk. Look at that big face coffee sticker on the on the laptop I got there.
Local podcast host has a big face coffee sticker. Did Jimmy Butler mail it to him?
Yes.
Find out later on PHNX.
Jimmy Butler
Suns.
did in fact mail it to him. Scroll up a little bit for me, Kevin.
I got you.
Shout out
I
all
got
the
you. I got
fine
you.
folks in this chat. AZ Catch G, one of our favorites. 5 of a Kind Media. My boy David. Zona Tucson. Thank you guys for joining. We appreciate you guys as always. Like family. And you know Kevin and I are we're always we're on all the streets when it comes to what's going on in the Arizona world. Last night something comes across my timeline. I admittedly saw it a little bit later than what it came out as, Kevin, because I checked it and I was like, this came out this morning. I didn't see it. On3 comes out with a top 25 returning quarterbacks ranking regarding and I have this clown over here. Did you put your big red nose on this morning and your white makeup, buddy?
Yeah, that's Anthony Totri.
I'm just trying to talk ball over here. I'm not saying anything. On3 gives their top 25 quarterbacks returning in college football. Puts Sam Levitt number 1. Highly debatable, in my opinion. Highly debatable. So
recency bias.
I'm just throwing this out right now. You're taking Sam Levitt over Arch Manning 1v1. Crazy opinion.
Anthony Totri says
unbelievable.
Yes.
Who's done more? Who's proven
I don't care.
Who's done more? Who's
I
done
don't
more is an
care.
insane question considering Arch Manning doesn't get the
done
opportunity
more?
to do anything else.
If he was that great, he'd start over Quinn.
Anyway.
I mean, they promised Quinn a spot.
Now that we've been derailed by
all
some
good.
scum devils.
No, I mean, not true. You started clapping when I brought up the topic. But is what it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at this list, Kevin. Did you put it together here? Yep. We got top 10, top 25, left to right here. Sam Levitt coming in at number 1. Drew Aller at number 2. And that's where this list comes into question. As is, did anyone watch Drew Aller against Notre Dame?
Drew Aller is not even better than who they have. Like,
no.
Does Drew Aller even make the list?
I mean, I think he makes the list, but he's certainly not better than Lenoris Sellers. You watch Lenoris Sellers play ball, Kevin?
Yes. Yeah. No. Yes. Definitely.
He is ice cold.
Yeah, he is.
Garrett Nussmeier, he has a lot of potential. I think DJ Lagway had a great end of the season. Florida was expected to be horrible, and they ended up being decent. I'm not super high on Carson Beck, but I think he'll have a good season. Cade Klubnik, I think that might be a little low for him. John Mateer coming over from Washington State over to Oklahoma, and then Nico Iamaleava rounding out the top 10.
I think you killed that.
Oh, I did crush that. Listen, bro. Polyculture is Damon's culture. I love that. I love that stuff. But top 25 QBs. That felt a little colonial right there, Kevin. Maybe I need to take that back.
I think you were just showing. You were really just showing appreciation. You were really just saying more.
It's more. I
pronounced
wrong.
his name because I appreciate his culture.
Sure, I said it in a bad way, but really, I just want to be a part of. Like, I respect the culture and I want to be a part of the culture. It's not that I'm not putting my flag in the in the Polynesian culture. I would like to make that clear.
We'll get back to the list, but I was gonna say, just to defend my co-host here, Polynesian culture is dope, and I was in the office.
Really
I was in the office the other day saying, like, I don't wish I was anything other than what I am, right? But I'm saying, how cool would it be to like look at your homie and be like, "Oh, what up, Oos?"
I was about to say, what if you were a
Like,
big
"Oh,
Oos?
what up, Oos?"
Yeah, for
like
sure.
that's so cool.
Yep.
I want to be able to say Oos. Like
that
that's
was exactly
awesome.
where I was going with that. It was literally the Oos part of that was where I was going with it.
Yeet. Anyway,
so yeah, getting back to this list here, I think the top 10 is I think who the quarterback should be in the top 10 in my opinion. I'm fine with all those names being in the top 10. I think that Drew Aller should be moved down a lot from 2 to like maybe
2
8.
is ridiculous.
Yeah, but the problem that I have really comes in this top, the bottom 15 of this top 25,
Yes.
right? And so we look at this. You got Josh Hoover from TCU, who is a good player. And a lot of all these guys are good players, really. Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt showed a lot this year, right? You got Texas Tech, Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas State in a stretch there. 4 Big 12 schools from 17 to 20. We've watched a couple of those guys play. Didn't obviously play Iowa State or Baylor this season, but watched Morton, watched Avery Johnson, so we know what they're all about. Then you have Illinois' quarterback, who I admittedly don't know much about, Maeva, who transferred from UNLV to USC and beat out Miller Moss, who is at 24 on the list, who transferred to Louisville. Miller Moss got benched in the middle of the season. Maeva kind of took over for him. And then you got Dylan Raiola, who is 5-star recruit, #1 quarterback in his class at Nebraska.
Noted Patrick Mahomes impersonator.
Yes, and Julian Sayin, who will be the projected starter at Ohio State next year. Here's my issue with this back end of this list, Kevin.
Talk to me.
Lots of inconsistencies, in my opinion, and that's where my problem stems. So I look at the back end of this top 25, and in particular, things that jump out at me. Julian Sayin, if you're going to project him, if that's what we're doing, if we're projecting an Ohio State quarterback to be what maybe his potential is, why is he at 25?
Yeah.
Then he should be higher.
That's actually a good point, Dan. I didn't even think about it like that.
It's either he didn't play, so we're keeping him off the list, right? Or you put him higher on the list because he's at Ohio State and you expect him to be really good in a place that has become a quarterback factory. Let's get this guy banned out of the chat, please. That has become a quarterback factory and a guy that, a school that is absolutely a wide receiver factory, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that bothers me. I don't understand why he's at 25. It's like either put him higher or don't put him in there at all.
I'm with you, especially with the talent he's going to be around. And if you're, okay, I'm not trying to be disrespectful because he is a good quarterback, but I'm just trying to illustrate your point, right? If you want to lay out what next year is going to look like and do it based on that, he should be a lot closer to Sam Levitt being at 1 than he is at 25, right? Like he should, like the players that Julian Sayin's going to be playing with are a lot better. And that's not saying that ASU's team is going to be bad next year. In fact, ASU's roster is going to be good. But my point is, Ohio State roster is drastically different. And if you think that Julian Sayin is only going to produce number 25 quarterback in the nation numbers, then should he really be on the list?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to frame it. I think I'm with you on that. But Damon,
that's kind of where I'm at with him in particular. The other guys that I kind of have problems with are similarly on this back end of this bottom 15 here. You got a guy like Miller Moss who literally lost his job, right? Like he got beat out in the middle of the season because he wasn't playing good enough. And yeah, the stats look a little bit better for a Miller Moss than a Noah Fifita last season. But are we really sitting here and you're going to tell me that if Noah Fifita wasn't at USC that he wouldn't have put up similar stats to what Miller Moss put up last year, and that his like as a transfer he wouldn't? This is where I'm at. If Noah Fifita left Arizona and last season, like him and T-Mac, say they went somewhere else, say they went to Alabama, like they got offered, where's Noah Fifita on this list? Kevin?
And we know that
is he top? He's top 10, right? Like,
yeah, he is. No, I think so. Like, I think if that's the case, he is. I'm with you
because he has a better season last year, and then he, comes into this year and or even if he sits behind Milroe, right? Last year he comes into this season, and I think everybody's like projecting. The last time we saw Noah Fifita play, he threw 30 touchdown passes almost, and missed 5 games of that season, and all we've ever seen is him be like an elite level quarterback. So I think that the schools here play a massive factor in how this ranking comes about. Arizona obviously horrible season last season. No one's denying that. Noah Fifita, incredibly disappointing season. I think he'd be the first one to tell you that, put his hand up in the air and say, hey, guys, it wasn't what I wanted, and I didn't play well enough. He wouldn't be pointing fingers. That's what me and Kevin are for. I'm pointing fingers. Worst offensive coaching I have personally ever witnessed in my entire life of any team that I've been a fan of. I'm not putting that on Noah Fifita. I've seen what Noah Fifita looks like in a competent offense, and it is borderline elite. I don't expect necessarily him to get back to that level. I'm not projecting that, but I do have enough confidence in Seth Dagey and this new offensive staff and the new vibes around the program and getting in some extra weapons around Noah so that it's not just, first off, tunnel vision on T-Mac, and second off, no one else to fall back on when T-Mac's not open or if he's triple covered, right? So I like the addition of these receivers that they've brought in. I love the addition of the coordinator that they brought in. And I just, I think that by season ends, we're going to be saying Noah Fifita was absolutely a top 25 quarterback in college football.
I totally agree, because the only thing that's changed was last year's offensive coaching, Damon, because when you look at literally everyone who's ever analyzed, broken down, spent time with, coached, or played with Noah Fifita says this guy is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever been around. Receivers say he throws a perfect ball, a catchable ball, a receiver-friendly ball. Coaches say he's a leader. He all the same things about the way he throws the ball that the receivers say, the coaches echo.
Yeah.
Seth Dagey said it on the pod when he joined us. If you haven't seen that interview, go to our YouTube channel and check it out. But he said himself, if Noah Fifita was 3 inches taller, 4 inches taller, whatever, however many inches taller, he's probably the number one quarterback in his recruiting class, in the nation, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you can debate if he's actually number one all day, whatever. But the point is, he is so well respected. The talent is clearly there. And he was very much so let down by the offensive coaching last year. And again, he was not without fault, like you said. He would say, I had my part in that as well, but it wasn't all on Noah Fifita. And I do expect that next year people are talking about him in a much more complimentary light, Damon. I think that people will kind of, you must have forgot. Noah Fifita, he's very good. He is that guy. And he is very capable of being one of the top quarter 25 quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at his stats here. He threw for almost 3,000 yards, had 18 touchdowns, 12 picks. That pick number is more than you would want. You'd like to see him in the 20 touchdown range. I understand all of that, but I look at other guys on this list, and they're in a similar range statistically to what Noah Fifita put up last season. And so are we judging based off of team performance, or are we judging based off of how good each particular quarterback is, right? Because frankly, and I said it before, we've seen heights from Noah that I would say 15 players on this list have never seen.
Yeah,
maybe even more. So like the ceiling there is we've seen it with our eyes on the field. Like you don't have to project anything. The ceiling there is higher than a lot of those players. Another guy, Jaden Mayava, and I was calling him Jordan earlier. I apologize for that. Jaden Mayava threw for 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 6 picks last year. What is different about that than what Noah Fifita did, except for the fact that he did it in less playing time?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Damon.
USC was not good. They were incredibly disappointing. Their offense was not good. Lincoln Riley is like borderline on the hot seat going into this season, similarly to a Brent Brennan, right? And I know that the scale is different there between those two programs, but I just it feels a lot like if Noah Fifita was at a bigger name school or playing in the SEC or playing in the Big Ten, I don't have any doubt that he'd be on this list. I asked the question to our friend Kobe, who's in the chat today, where would he be if he played at Nebraska? If he was putting on Nebraska red and lining up under center in Lincoln in front of 100,000 strong every Saturday, is he missing this list? I'd say absolutely not, because Dylan Raiola is not good, frankly. Like we all watch him play.
Yeah, I mean, he impersonates Patrick Mahomes without any of the actual
He's really good at
production
that.
or big time skills.
Dylan Raiola, less yards, less touchdowns, one less interception than Noah Fifita this past season.
Wow. I mean, look, Damon. When you look at this list, to me, it's clear, and I'll pull it back up one more time just to refresh people's memory here. But to me, it looks like you look at this list, and it's someone or a group of people kind of being like, who are the teams that are going to improve next year? who are some of the quarterbacks that have big names right now? And it's kind of like a what have you done for me lately kind of a list, right? Like Sam Levitt being number one. Like you said earlier, is he better than Arch Manning? Probably not. You know what I mean? Like, is he?
I certainly wouldn't take him over
Is
Arch
he
Manning.
like it's arguable, but like, is he better than like John Mateer, Kay Klubnik, DJ Lagway? Like, these are all arguable things. Arguable things that if I don't know, there's no way that you look at this and you don't see Noah Fifita in the second half of this list, right? I think I would take Noah Fifita over Rocco Becht. I would take Noah Fifita over, Dylan Raiola. I would take Noah Fifita over Luke Altmaier, certainly. And yeah, it is strange that Noah Fifita is being left off this list simply, it seems, because of the team performance from last season. And it doesn't seem like people are really interested in evaluating him as a quarterback, more so evaluating what the offense did when he was the quarterback.
Yeah, and I tweeted about it, and I had a lot of Arizona fans even that were kind of fired up, telling me like, well, he sucked last season. And I think he would admit that. But I just Kobe says in the chat, this ranking is garbage because multiple guys on this list have never even played on the teams they're currently on. Totally true. And to further that point, like, you look at the teams on the list, like, it feels like they're just trying to engagement farm a little bit.
Yeah.
And I
troll for engagement.
I like On Three. Like, I respect what they do over there. But can you pull it up for me real quick, Kevin?
Of course.
Let's look at, like, I'm just looking solely at programs here. They said to themselves, we need to get our Ohio State guy on the list because, as I already mentioned, it makes no sense for him to be at 25. They were like, okay, well, let's get Nebraska's quarterback on here. That'll create some buzz. Let's get USC's quarterback on here. That'll create some buzz.
Let's get the old USC quarterback on here because that will create some crossover buzz.
Yeah, Oklahoma. Hey, I know this guy has never played for you guys, but he's going to play. We're going to put him in the top 10 because he's Oklahoma's quarterback. Like, I think that all this stuff is kind of just it's showing you that this is very program based, in my opinion.
Hey, Carson Beck looked awful, and no one thought he was any good. But he's going to Miami now, and that's really cool. So let's put him at the top.
And
of
I
the
think
list.
I think Carson Beck and John Mateer should be higher than Noah Fifita. Like, I'm not arguing that.
No, yeah.
But it's just, I think that a lot of this is program watching. It's logo picking. Like, I feel like it's that simple. I really do believe if Noah Fifita played on one of these, if he wasn't the guy that he is, Kevin, and he took the opportunity after a Dream Alamo Bowl winning season in 2023 and said, I'm going to go get the bag because I might not be an NFL player. I'm going to go get the bag and maximize the amount of money I can make at the college level, right? If he did that, I guarantee you he's on this top 25 list.
I agree.
So I that's really just where I stand with it. I think it's interesting to talk about. Like, it's fun to talk about. And I understand, I really do understand why he's not on it. I'm not like freaking out about it. I just think personally he should be on it if based off of some of the criteria that they're using on these players, if we're keeping it consistent. And I think furthermore, next season with an improved offensive coaching staff, going from this is the thing, Kevin, if we go from F- to C level coaching.
Oh my gosh.
It is a world
My
different.
word.
No,
it really is.
We're talking about a different football team last year.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where it comes in. Like, I think it's so important, and people, obviously quarterback is the most important position on the field. I had an ASU fan tell me that when we were in my mentions discussing this, like, because his number one thing was 4-8, and I said it's a team sport. It's the ultimate team sport. It's more of a team sport than any other sport that we have in this country.
Yeah, that's true.
And on top of that, I think coaching is more important in football than it is in any of these other sports as well. You are literally calling the play.
Yeah.
What you call impacts versus what the other coach calls is going to determine what happens in the play. I think that coaching is so important, and getting just an average coach in place. And I have higher hopes than average for Seth Doege, but an average coach in place will skyrocket this offense and get Noah the respect he deserves. If you guys are watching with our streaming partners, head on over to gophnx.com. Kevin and I are going to round out this quarterback talk. And yeah, Kevin, any thoughts on anything that I just said there?
Damon, I don't want to go for too long on this because I do agree with a lot of what you said about it. I think you had a good way of going about it, a good angle to take, because when you do look at that list, the logic is flawed, right? And if you go by their flawed logic, Noah Fifita should be on this list, right? Like you said, we're not freaking out that they didn't put him on the list because we get it. We understand what's going on here. But it does seem like if you're going to go by the logic of projecting players into an offense that they've never actually played in before, it seems like Noah Fifita will be one of the prime people to do that with. Judging by what we saw from him 100%. In a real offense and then what we saw from him in the dinosaur fake offense last year, this year it should be a Noah Fifita that looks like a top 25 quarterback if that's the logic that you're going to go with. And so, yeah, I'm with you on that, Damon. I just had one other note today in general. If you are an Arizona basketball fan or an Arizona football fan or just someone who doesn't like ASU and you want to stick it to ASU, the best way to do that is to make sure that we have more Arizona fans than ASU fans at this February 1st takeover presented by Branded Bills. Make sure to go get your tickets at our website right now. Not now, but right now for our official PHNX college basketball takeover. I'll be there. Damon Dog will be there. The losers from our Sun Devils pod will also be there. And yeah, Damon, I'm excited for it. I know you're excited for it. I just wanted to shout that out here towards the end of our show. Make sure people understand that they got to pop out to that. You can't just let ASU fans think that Arizona fans don't exist up here. We do.
I mean, everyone knows we have a better fan base. It's time to show that in person at our takeover because we're going to take over McHale North, Kevin.
Oh, yeah, we are, Damon. Big time we are.
Almost nothing better than when you start hearing the U of A chants ring in your biggest rival's stadium.
Yeah.
And I say biggest rival with an asterisk because it's UCLA in basketball.
It's rivalry in name. It's like literally just because the school names are so similar and the proximity is so close.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a game at Desert Financial Arena?
Yeah, I think once. I don't think it was an ASU game, though.
It wasn't a U of A ASU game, though?
No.
I'm telling you, Kevin, it's special when the Arizona fans start standing up and just taking over the entire arena. I mean, it happens every time almost, but it never gets old. It really doesn't.
I believe it, and I'm excited to experience it on February 1st for our takeover, Damon. I'm excited.
I am excited as well. Excited to always talk ball with you guys. One of the best parts of our day, Kevin. We love it, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys watching in the chat. Please leave a like on this video. Please subscribe to this channel. Helps us out immensely. I am at Damon Dog on Twitter. He is at KevoPost. That's KevoPosts.
That's
and
me.
Also, I forgot to say, Dog is with a DAWG.
Oh, yeah, Dog. Damon Dog.
Yeah. So get in on that. Follow at PHNX_Wildcats on social media as well. That's gonna be our main hub for everything Arizona, and we keep you locked in on that page. So turn those notifications on too. Drop likes on all those tweets, helps us out, and we will catch you next time on the AZ Wildcats podcast for a post game show edition versus Colorado.
Oh yeah, bear down.
We all silly like the mayor.